Hello everybody. In the previous two videos we were covering the modeling toolkit, and in this video we're going to continue to cover the modeling toolkit. There's still a few more things to discuss regarding the modeling toolkit. So first, I'm going to go ahead and just create a few cylinders. The main topic for this video is going to be the multi-cut. The multi-cut is one of the most versatile, useful tools you're going to have access to in the modeling toolkit. Unlike, say, combine or separate or boolean or smooth or extrude or bevel or bridge, which are all good at doing a specific thing, multi-cut is good for, as the name would imply, multiple things. So let's go ahead and select our first cylinder here. I'm just going to go into vertex mode. I'm going to go ahead and activate the multi-cut tool now. The first thing that we can do with the multi-cut tool is create geometry. And we can create geometry by just clicking on a vertex, and then clicking on another vertex, and then we press enter. And now we have a new edge that we just created. And we can continue doing this ad nauseum. We don't have to just create one edge at a time. We can create 2, 3, 4, and 5, and now I can press enter, and now all 5 of those edges that I created are applied to the cylinder. Let's make a few more. Straight diagonal, just like that. Fantastic. This is one of the great things that multi-cut can do, is create new edges for you. Often when you're modeling, you are going to have to create new geometry in order to do new things, in order to push your work even further. And the best way to do that is with multi-cut. Multi-cut is a great way of creating your geometry. Not only can you select 2 vertices and create an edge that connects the 2 vertices, you can just click anywhere you want on a model. And the multi-cut will create something. Now, under normal circumstances, you probably don't want to create something like this. There's really no need, since you're going to have so many n-gons that are of more than 3 or 4 sides. But you can create shapes like this just by clicking on a model and creating geometry that way. So multi-cut, very useful, very powerful. That is one of its uses. Activate multi-cut again, and this time instead of creating geometry from vertices, we're going to do it from edges. All we have to do is just hold the left mouse button, and we can drag along an edge and create a point for our new geometry, and just create an edge loop like this. An edge loop is are edges that go all the way around a model, like so. Now, obviously, this is not a very clean edge loop, not compared to the ones that were automatically made by Maya. If you want to create clean edge loops, then you're going to want to hold Shift when you are left mouse dragging, because this will snap the this will snap the point for your edge to a specific percentage along the edge that you want to place the point on. So in this case, I'm going to make it an even 50 and just go along for all of them. I don't have to just click on the very next edge if I don't want to. I can click, 2 edges from now if I want to. But doing so, there runs the risk that the loop is not going to run the way you want to. So most of the time, you're going to want to go just 1 edge at a time, which is why it's not useful to use multi-cut after you've smoothed an object, but rather when you're working with the base version of an object. That is when it's the best time to create additional geometry for you to work in. Let's create another one. This time I'm going to create it at the 80% mark. Again, I could go 2 if I wanted to, but it's not going to create the loop exactly the way I wanted to. I'm just going to go 1 at a time. Thankfully, the next thing we're going to discuss, by the way, if you make a mistake with working with multi-cut here, like, if I did that by accident, I could just Control Z. Control Z is the universal undo for anything that you're working with, whether it's moving objects around or working with something more precise like the multi-cut tool. We have it all looped around, so now we just press enter. There's another edge loop. Fantastic. Let's go and jump into the third cylinder, because now I want to discuss the next thing with the multi-cut tool, which is very similar to the second thing here, but it's more convenient, I think. Not only can we create edge loops manually, but we can also do it automatically. So if we hold Shift and Control, or just Control rather, we can see that we can create an automatic edge loop around an object. Edge loops, by the way, cannot go through tries. They only go through four-sided faces as such. If you try to make an edge loop through a triangle, it's just going to stop before it meets that point of the triangle. But for regular four-sided shapes, four-sided polys, then this works wonders. So you just hold Control, you can place down the edge loop wherever you want. You can hold Shift if you want more precise control. So, for example, I want it exactly in the middle. Click. Don't even have to press enter. This time I just click with the left mouse button. That places my edge loop. Place as many as I want, but you don't want to place this many. Hold Shift for more precise placement at the 10%, at the 90%, at the 50%. Maybe I want to place one long. Obviously, it's not going to go all the way into the tries you'd expect. Again, edge loops that are created by multi-cuts or just created via the Maya Make Edge Loop tool, which we'll look at in a second, does not work well with tries, but it does work very well with four-sided shapes, four-sided polys, as seen here. Creating a whole bunch more edge loops. This is going to be one of the most common methods that you use to create additional geometry for your models. And you will be doing this often, creating more edge loops. You ever find yourself unhappy with the edge loops that you made? You can just double-click to select the whole loop. I'll just double-click and select a whole bunch of these. Now that I have all these edge loops selected, I'm just going to go ahead and go to, I believe it's Mesh Tools, or is it Edit Mesh? It's Edit Mesh and delete Edge/Vertex. And that safely deletes all of your edge loops. You don't want to just select your edge loops and then press delete. That does get rid of them, but it gets rid of them in a way where it is going to create some trash ghost data for you that you're going to have to deal with. Like you see, I've just pressed the delete key on all those edge loops, but I have all these extra vertices here that don't make any sense. Whereas if I were to just delete the edge loops the right way, which is through Edit Mesh, delete Edge Vertex, all of those extra vertices that were generated by my edge loops are gone as well. That is a cleaner version of deleting edges. So anytime you want to delete an edge, you want to double-click the edge, you want to go to Edit Mesh and delete Edge/Vertex. That's the safe way of doing it. If you do it the other way, where you just press delete, it's going to leave behind ghost data that can mess with your model further down the road. So always, always, always make sure that when you're deleting edges, Edit Mesh, delete Edge/Vertex, or Control Delete is the shortcut. So Control Delete is the right way of doing it. Whereas if I just press delete by itself, it leaves behind vertices. So you don't want to do that. Control Delete. Additionally, there is another way of making edge loops. I believe it's under Mesh Tools, Insert Edge Loop. Just gives you an opportunity to create edge loops like this. Multi-cut is better. Multi-cut is better. Multi-cut can do this, and multi-cut does a whole bunch of other stuff as well, which is why it is just the better way of creating edge loops. So this exists if you want to make edge loops this way, but multi-cut is better. Let's jump over to the next use. So cylinder number 4, we can select our multi-cut tool, and we can just, from outside of the cylinder, hold the left mouse button and just drag and just slice our models. That is yet another use of the multi-cut tool. This is more of a niche use. I don't find myself using this particular slice feature that often, but it works pretty well. It works pretty well, and it's pretty fun to use. So it's something that you may want to experiment with if you'd like. Now that we have the cylinder with all of these slices, we can actually go ahead and test out target weld if we want, which merges two edges or vertices into a single component. By the way, you can just hover your mouse over all of these tools and it will tell you what they do. It's a very useful thing to do when you're just being introduced to this stuff for the first time. Just hover your mouse over this stuff and just see what it has to say for itself. In our case, we're going to use target weld, so let's go ahead and click out. There we go. Target weld, I have it selected. It is going to merge two edges or vertices into a single component. Let's go ahead and actually get into vertex mode here. It's going to be easier to demonstrate. Just going to select one vertex, and holding the left mouse button, I'm going to drag into this second vertex right here. There we go. Left mouse drag. Select the vertex, left mouse drag. We can go into edge mode and do this with edges as well. Connecting edges together. Connecting edges together. This is a more improved version of that append to polygon tool, which I have previously shown, but I think I'll take a quick second just to show again that the append to polygon tool is under mesh tools, append to polygon, select two edges, and it will basically do something, not that dissimilar to both targeted weld or bridge, but both bridge and targeted weld are just better versions of this. This also takes cues from another tool called, let's double check, let's also switch over to Vertex, to edit mesh. These two tools, the merge and merge to center tool. Essentially how these two tools work is that you can just select a vertex. Let's actually unselect target weld to test, just to demonstrate this. We select the vertex, we select the second vertex, we go to mesh, edit mesh I should say, merge to center, and that will merge the vertices together. Then we can select two more. I can press G to repeat that action, and that's the old way of how you would merge vertices together. But obviously with targeted weld, it's just much more intuitive and just a much better way of doing it. Connecting these two, connecting these two. Let's switch over to vertex mode, connect these two, and so on and so forth. There are options for target weld, by the way. Right underneath where you can select target weld, you have the target weld options where you can either merge to the target or merge to the center. Right now I have merge to center. If I select merge to target, we'll get slightly different results. Where instead of merging at the center where you saw that green point, it's just going, the first vertex that I've clicked on is just going to overlap itself with the other vertex and just, combine into one vertex there. Let's do it with edges now just to see. I select this edge up here. I drag it over to the second edge. It's just going to meet it at the location of the second edge. Whereas if I select at center, I select one edge, I select the second edge, and it's going to meet at that point where the green dot is. That's where the two edges will meet. Very useful. I would recommend you slice and dice some basic primitive and test out target weld for yourself. Very useful. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these 4 cylinders. Let's bring in a sphere real quick. I'll make it bigger. Last tool to test out is connect. Connect just connects selected polygon components by inserting an edge between them. So let's see. Just a method of creating edge loops, or if I were to select multiple faces, a way of adding in additional geometry quickly to an object. I don't find this especially useful. I don't know many people that do use this at all, but if you wanted to, this is something that you can play with and test out for yourself. There we go. I created some extra geometry for me to use. Maybe now I can grab the faces. Maybe I can pull them out now. Maybe I can do Control E for an extrude. Create something very weird here. Why not? Like that. Connect isn't all that especially useful, but it is easy to use, and it is something that you can play around with and test if you want to. All right. Thank you very much for watching. We have now covered all of the most important components of the modeling toolkit. In the next video, we're going to go over lights and cameras, and the video after that, we're going to bring it all together and actually create a scene using the modeling toolkit and the previous modeling techniques from the previous weeks. So thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.